Ready to roll.
Your impressions of Kendrick Bourne and the strides he's made since he's been here this year?
Yeah, kind of the same things we've been saying. He's really impressive. You know, the way he's how much he's playing, given how short a time he's been here, and he's been kind of forced into that role because of the injuries. He's just super competitive. He's making plays. It's not perfect. There's stuff he's got to clean up every week, but he's totally like bought in, and he's just getting better. He's learning, and he's competing, and it's showing up on the field on Sunday. And so he's been a huge contributor for us, and just, you know, really cool to see that, and happy to see him keep getting better.
Holberg's defense, you pretty much know what you're going to get. He's going to play a lot of man, and he's going to bring a lot of pressure, and that's what the numbers say. What does it look like when you watch it?
Yeah, they play man. They definitely bring a lot of pressure, but then they have their shell coverages, and they mix it up, and it's really, really good defense. It's very sound. They're really athletic and young, and they play with a lot of passion, and they make plays. And it's everything's tied together, and the reason why I think they're ranked number one, or depending on which metric you use, they're up there, and they're really good. It's a huge challenge for us, and you know, we're getting ready for it, but it's going to be very challenging on Sunday for sure.
I know you go into each week wanting to put points up on the board, but just wondering if, given the state of the defense, losing two cornerstones in Bosa and Fred Warner, is there any added emphasis, any added pressure to kind of score more, take more advantage of the red zone possessions?
You know, it's not added pressure. I mean, yeah, we always want to score more. It doesn't matter what's going on the defensive side of the ball. We got to do our job. I think if you start thinking about anything other than that, that's when you kind of get distracted from that goal. So I think our goal is to continue to get better. We want to score more points. We want to be more efficient, and, you know, keep believing in what the defense is doing and just play our game. So.
I was kind of lamenting yesterday the lack of explosive plays that you guys, the numbers would suggest that as well. What have you seen in terms of not being able to get those as often as you have in the past, and how can you kind of get there?
I think it's harder in general to get explosives in the league now, the way defenses play. I think, you know, people are so, you know, it's such an emphasis on defensive football to just limit explosives. So that's a big part of it. Some of it is just luck. Some of it's just missing something here, missing something there. It's not something you try to overcorrect or anything. You think those will come your way if you keep playing the right way. I truly feel that way. I think they'll come in the run game. I think they'll continue to come in the pass game if we keep playing the right way and getting better. So.
How has Kittle looked so far this week, and how can he be helpful in that regard?
Oh yeah, I mean, he's looking good. He's great to have him back out there. You know, he's been working back into practice. He's definitely one of our most explosive players. That definitely helps, you know, to answer your question.
The untrained eye, it looks almost like Mac Jones just hit the ground running for you guys. But do you see him making progress every week and getting better still?
Yeah, I do. It's really cool. And, you know, this week he didn't get to practice a lot last week. And this week you see more progress because he's practicing. And even he owned that, you know, last week. He needs to practice. He needs to keep getting those reps. He gets better every week, in my opinion. He gets more comfortable with kind of our operation, our offense. He gets more confident. So it's cool to see a player ascend that way and just continue to grow.
Watkins had a good camp for you guys and then had a couple big injuries, and he's working his way back.
Yep.
How much would you like to introduce him into this, you know, into your offense from scrimmage?
Definitely. We love to. You know, he just got back this week. You know, we got to kind of see where he's at physically and work him back in. You know, and then it's a slow progression, and we would love to get him out there on the field and contributing for us. And he's a guy we really liked in the offseason. We liked how much he got better. The setbacks happen, but he's got to continue to push himself, kind of where Ricky was last year, where you got to grow and you got to keep pushing yourself and practicing hard, and you know, eventually your time will come. So.
Similar with Jordan James, what does he need to do to kind of get himself into the mix too?
Yeah,
injuries also.
It's the same. You know, you got to keep working. Jordan's been stacking some really good weeks here. He had the injuries in camp, but, you know, this past month he's had really good practices, and he's a guy who's going to be ready to go when his number's called. You know, I mean, how things shake out on game day with the numbers and how many backs we dress, you know, that's things he can't control, but his time will come. I feel that, and he's practicing really well, and when his time does come, I'm excited about him. So.
You haven't had Kittle. He's obviously a great all-around player, but, you know, maybe you get a better appreciation when you don't have him. What would you say is the trait that you really do appreciate most about his game?
Yeah. I mean, I think you mentioned the explosiveness. I think that's one thing. You know, when the ball's in his hands, his ability to separate from guys, George accounts for a lot of explosive plays in our offense just because of his athletic ability. But just how good he is in the run and pass game. He's not a guy that fits into a box. He does both equally very well. which means you don't have to take him off the field. You don't have to adjust what you're calling because he's in the game. He can protect, he can block the run game, and he's an elite, passing game guy. And I think you just you definitely miss that. You miss a tool like that when he's not out there, and when he's out there, we really appreciate it. So, yeah.
Kind of a random question, but both Brock and Mac wear the wristband with the play sheet on
Yep.
it. And what are kind of the pros and cons of doing that, and why do you guys like to go that way?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not we don't do it in the off season. We don't wear the wristband because we want guys getting used to hearing calls and then being able to paint a picture in their head of what we're calling, and whether it's the formation, protection, run game, whatever. We want guys to just get comfortable with the verbiage. When you get into the season, you start to talk about a lot more, checks in our CAN system. You start to talk about more motions and different formations and getting guys lined up in a certain spot, and the wristband kind of takes care of that. And so I guess what I'm saying is the verbiage picks up once you get in season, and the wristband can be necessary for that, especially for Kyle to call a play that's very verbose, and then the quarterback to have to call it again. It just takes time. So for us to just tell them, look at the wristband, look at this number, it saves us time, and it can get everyone kind of in the right spot. So I think it's just a necessary thing. I think a lot of people are using it now. So
You guys kind of to set a base in the off season, and then you can build off of that.
totally. Yeah, in the offseason, we want guys listening and learning and being able to recall, you hear it and you recall it and you can communicate it in the huddle. We still do that. Not every play we have is wristbanded. Kyle's still calling a lot of plays to the quarterback, but in the offseason, we want to train him to hear and then to be able to regurgitate it back to the offense. So.
Tom just has had a great couple of weeks here. Did you see that potential in him this summer? And what has been the key for him outside of opportunity to kind of unlock what he's been able to do?
Yeah, we've always been excited about Jake and what he's been able to do in the pass game. As in the off season, we really like those skill sets. We needed him to grow in the run game, and when George went out and he kind of stepped into that pass game role, we loved how he was producing. But it's been cool to see him grow as a complete player. What do I attribute that to? I think he's a guy who's taken advantage of every moment out there, and he gets better from it. The moment's not too big for him. He steps up when we need him to, and just a guy, the more he's out there, the better he gets. And, we're real happy with where he's at. So he's a big contributor for us.
You feel the chemistry between Mac Jones and Bourne right away at practice, and you see it now when you watch film of the plays?
Yeah, you could tell just their relationship. They're real comfortable with each other, but it took KB a little bit to kind of get caught up to speed just because he was so new to our offense, being away for so long. But you can tell those guys are they're locked in together and they have a great relationship. So yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.